gentlemen, Jay Simons.
Making Jira dreams and I rock. Making Jira I rock. Everybody on the team takes stock. I'm a Jira admin and I rock.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dom Price.
Since my team got working, I found a place to dwell. Got a Jira, a Trello, a Confluence, and now we're doing swell. My team is working, so good I'm twerking. My team is working, now I'm blind. We got pages in our spaces. We got issues and tasks en masse. We got cards and lists and plans. We track out what's coming our ass. My team is working, so it's working. My team is working out loud. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Feel free to join in. Feel free to raise your hands. Feel free to come and grab a scarf. Do you want to be an Elvis fan? Oh, we have more Elvi. There are many Elvis. Do you want 2 more Elvises? Can I welcome 2 more Elvi to the stage? We have Elvis Scott and Elvis Mike. Elvis Scott, just here please. Elvis Scott and Elvis Mike. It's time for you boys to dance. You just gotta dance. It's time for our founders gonna shake it up. Looking good in their brand new attire. Had to beg them to come up here to back us up. This is finally gonna get me fired. Got a wig for Scott and a wig for Mike. And jumpsuits that fit just a bit too tight. But dancing's gonna make it all alright. Jira, Las Vegas. Viva Las Vegas. Swing your hips. I'm singing. Elvis the House Radio. Clearly have thunder down under. Now this bit's gone on for far too long. Dancing with your boss on stage, just so wrong. Someone push the button for the end of the song. More dancing there. Viva Las Vegas. Oh, Jira Las Vegas. Jira Las Vegas. Jira Las Vegas. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking and welcoming Elvi, and Elvi. You may bow. Ladies and gentlemen, Elvi are leaving the building.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Megha Narayan.
Good morning. I'm smiling because I had a whole thing planned, and then like the world's most talented 11-year-old went on, and then that happened, and I'm like, and now I have to talk to you about teamwork, so I apologize for that. Okay, so when I was preparing for this, I asked the team 2 questions. 1, can I curse? 2, can I improv? And they said no, but I have a hot mic and I have some shit to say, so we're gonna do it. Sorry, Mom, I know you're watching. Okay, I have a question for someone in the audience. This gentleman looks awake. Can you give me one word that you've heard the most this week at Summit? Celebration, he said. I see your hungover eyes. Can the gentleman next to him tell me another word? Oh, he's stunned into silence. Okay. That shtick didn't work. All right, for most of you, minus those two non-plants in the audience, you've heard this word a lot. Intentionally, we are obsessed with teamwork here. We eat, breathe, and sleep it. And over the last 17 plus years, we have become really obsessed with the idea of something called open work, which is to say that we believe that the most successful teams are open teams. Now, if you talk to anyone here, they will tell you that their most favorite value is open company, no bullshit. So in honor of that, myself and one of the Elvi Dom pledge to you for the next 20 minutes or so, some real talk. No buzzwords, no jargon, just a clear, unfiltered perspective on what we believe it takes to take your team from exceptional to extra exceptional, or shitty to less shitty. And we're gonna turn the theoretical into practical for you today. Okay, let's start with this word. I'm a skeptic, and that's partially why I'm up here. I'm sure you have lots of thoughts about this word, especially given the industries that we work in. It's kind of taken on new meaning in many ways, some of it good, some of it bad, and honestly, it feels like there's a little bit of like an open checklist now, and I'll tell you what I mean. Like, we are so open that we spend our entire day in collaboration tools, and realize that's kind of insulting Atlassian, but I mean, or we are so open that we have no walls in our office, which means I can hear and smell my colleague every single day. It's just so gross. Or we gather into conference room every single month while our leaders talk at us. That's how transparent we are. And then my personal favorite, this guy, who, this is the kind of guy that might drop the phrase radical transparency and maybe not know what it means. Now, well-intentioned for the most part, but that's not open work. God, I wish it was as easy as just knocking down some walls and taking questions from employees. The truth is that it's a mindset, it's a culture, and if you're playing Atlassian, buzzword bingo, this is another one we love, it's a rigorous set of practices. We love that word practices because it means that you can take action on something instead of just seeing a word on a slide and moving on. Okay, so we think about practices in this case in 3 ways. 1, context. Now this means that everyone at your company has shared understanding about what you're up to, how it connects to each other, how it connects to what the company is about, and how it benefits the customer. Feedback. This is not your average mama's feedback, if you know what I mean. This means that regardless of rank, regardless of status, you have the right and the responsibility to give and receive direct feedback well beyond your team. And the third, this is the hairiest one of all, access to information. To put simply, this really means that everyone has focused information and easy access to it. The open philosophy really sort of believes that information should be something to be discovered and not protected. We're going to get into this a little bit later. Now, that slide is really pretty, and so is this one. And it kind of sounds utopian, and I think if you had asked me maybe 5 years ago, I would have been like, I'm doing that. Like, why is this novel? Well, here's the no bullshit part. You're probably not. It's really, really, really hard. Now, it takes effort, vigilance, courage, vulnerability, commitment. It's like all the things that I know I need for that six-pack that I want overnight, and yet, here I am. But, like platitudes aside, even though we are wired to be empathetic, we are wired for connection, for some reason, when we get into the workplace, we kind of ditch that. We drop it because it makes it too complicated. And so we have to be open, we tend to have to unlearn a lot of bad habits, relearn how to relate to each other. And there will be roadblocks, and you will make mistakes. I can speak from personal experience. And I shouldn't say this because we just spent the last 3 or 4 days talking about how shiny our tools are, but even our tools aren't enough to work openly. What matters is how you and your team work off and on all of those tools. And to say the most obvious thing, but most important thing, everyone in here is a unique and beautiful snowflake. I mean that, no sarcasm, you really are. And we all have our unique set of perspectives, insights, emotions, deadlines, pressures. None of us are getting enough sleep, especially that gentleman in the second row. And it makes it really tough to navigate in the context of teamwork. What's interesting about the open philosophy is that it doesn't shy away from that complexity. It says, don't ditch that unique perspective when you come to work. Don't ditch your emotions when you come to work. Bring them in, and it will make your team stronger. Now, I'm sure a lot of you that are paying attention are like, that sounds like bullshit, that sounds counterintuitive, because I think a lot of us think about team success in a really binary way. It's like, either you shipped it or you didn't. And I hear you. So let's consider one of the examples that Mike brought up yesterday about that killer team, right? They're planning, they're road mapping, they're executing flawlessly, like the warriors in Jira. They're killing it. They seem like a successful team on paper. But what if that team implodes because they're not talking, they can't stand each other, their relationships are fractured, they don't understand how their work connects to where the company is headed? And that's a huge tax on those people, and even more so on the organization. I think a lot of us have been here, unfortunately. So I'm finally getting to my point, which is that there are 2 parts to the successful team equation. There's the achievement part that we already know, and we know how to measure this in a million different ways. And then there's the fluffy stuff, the emotional stuff, the stuff that Sean sort of talked to us about a couple days ago. And I think this is something that we're still just recognizing the importance of, because we've been trained to separate sort of personal emotions and work output. This philosophy sort of believes that you can combine both and get better outcomes. And when we say emotions here, it's really about belonging, happiness, connection, trust, psychological safety. This is a team's responsibility. Oftentimes a lot of us are not my problem, that's HR's problem, that's senior leader's problem. Not true. Now, it's really easy, theoretically, for me to come up here and say, you should just be open, because we have been open from day one. It's actually not easy. This is freaking terrifying. But one of the questions we had was, how did we know that this scaled outside of the insane walls of Atlassian? We needed a little bit more evidence before we sort of preached it far and wide. So we decided to dedicate a pretty risky research initiative to this. And we wanted to know one thing. Was there a believable link between openness, as we've talked about it, and successful teams? So we studied people just like you, software, IT, and teams supporting them. And the results were somewhat validating and surprising. So as a reminder, when we say open, we mean 3 things. Big picture on the left, feedback in the middle, access to information on the right. So keep that in mind. Okay, so the top line is pretty encouraging. Open teams are 60% more likely to be high achieving, which is that's amazing. And they are 80% more likely to report high emotional well-being. This is enough for all of us to just drop what we're doing and head to the pool, because why bother? Keep going, right? But unfortunately, I'm up here for another 15 more minutes, so we're going to keep going. Now, let's start with context, because this is deeper than just the top line. Okay, I know all of us have been in this unfortunate situation like this, where we knew what we were doing on a team, on a project, but we had no idea why the company asked us to focus our energies on it. Why this fit into the bigger picture. So we knew what we were doing, but we had no idea why or how it mattered. So best case scenario, right? You kept your head down, you kept the trains running, and you shipped your stuff. Worst case scenario, subconsciously, you stopped investing your full self, you became a little bit more apathetic, you stopped caring. So it turns out, as the data shows, thankfully, no one likes to feel like a cog in a machine. Like, yes, of course. What I find more interesting about this, though, is that teams that don't understand the bigger picture just don't achieve as much. And it makes sense, right? Like, if you don't have connection to where your company is headed, why bother to invest all of your ideas and all of your creativity? I get it. Okay, let's talk about feedback. Now, it's just like eating your vegetables or taking your vitamins every day. Like, we know that it's good for us, and yet we avoid it. Like, a diversity of opinions and perspectives is always going to lead us to a better place. And yet, here we are, right? I will be the first to admit that I avoid giving honest feedback at all times, even in an open culture. It feels awkward, it feels impolite, it feels like just more efficient to just like give sugar-coated feedback and move on. And I do the same thing with receiving feedback. I dread it, I toss it aside, and I'm sure that a lot of us here are guilty of that too. It's actually more efficient not to gather feedback, but it's worse in the long term. So a lot of us are part of the problem. Now, it turns out I'm not alone. High-achieving teams are better at this, but no one is very good at it. So we're going to give you some tips on this a little bit later. Okay, so you think feedback is hard? Like, let's talk about information. Why is this so hard? Like, I think that you're subconsciously aware of this issue. Like, you live this every day. Information is currency. It's the ultimate status signifier. It's like a Chanel purse. It's like the more you have, the better off you feel. And unfortunately, maybe it's human nature, but we like protect ourselves using information and our status. So we use information as a weapon. Like, I'm not going to give you this thing until I know you're going to give me something back. And we hoard information to the detriment of other people, and the result is, whether we intend this or not, silos, politics, agendas, fiefdoms, and it's like this super boring version of Game of Thrones. You can tell what's on my mind. And execution just slows down, so it's like no one wins. Now, to be blunt, no one shares information that well. Like, high-achieving teams do it better, but we were surprised. We thought the numbers would be stronger. So my gut tells me that this is sort of reflects how mired a lot of organizations are in a closed way of working. We're just not aware of it. And how little has changed in spite of the recent advances of cloud and mobile and all the other things that make information sharing easier than ever before. So what does this research tell us? 1, thankfully, there is a compelling link between openness and team success. 2, open work is really, really hard. The practices are tough to adopt, it kind of goes against human nature, and it feels uncomfortable. Now, I promise you no bullshit, so this wasn't exactly like the best sales pitch, and I will acknowledge that. So yeah, open is a daunting proposition, especially when so many of us are just trying to like get through the day and chip away at our task list. But I promise you this, as someone that has been on really terrible teams and really great teams, openness is worth the effort. As Dom put it to me a little while ago, openness should be seen as an investment in your future and not a tax. So the way that we think about this at a high level is that it enlists everyone in a common cause, it unlocks individual initiative, and it brings diverse points of view to the fore. In other words, you just have more people generating better ideas. We achieve more and we feel better. Okay, so if you care about good teamwork, and I know most of you do, we created an entirely new space at Atlassian.com/open. So you can dig deeper into the research. You can take a simple quiz to diagnose where your team is on their journey to being more open. And you can read more about our philosophy on this topic. Okay, we made it. We did it. Now I'd like to bring on Dom Price, AKA Elvis #2, to talk about bringing open work practices to your team. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. What's this? What did I miss? Thank you, Megha. I hope what you've heard from Megha there is that openness isn't something that we just talk about as a philosophy. It's something we genuinely care about every single day, and it's in our DNA around taking this to action. So my name's Don Price, and I'm the work futurist at Atlassian. I think I'm one of the most fortunate people in the world because I think I have the best job in the world. I joined Atlassian 6 years ago, and I'll admit that in the first kind of 90 days, I wasn't quite sure why they'd hired me, because everything just worked. And I'd historically only worked in organizations as a firefighter, where everything was broken. I'd put my cape on, go and put the fire out, and take the plaudits. Now, fortunately, I had a great boss at the time who said to me, Dom, I never want Atlassian to be famous for being big. I want us to be famous for being awesome, for being a great place to work. And so we quickly realized that the way we worked had to be something we did on purpose and not by accident. We were nimble and had agility because we were small, but that wouldn't stay as we scaled. We had to do it on purpose. And so we started to develop our own practices. Now, I'll be honest, when we first did this, it was entirely selfish. It wasn't for any of you. It was to help us find our own ways of working. Now, actually, for a few years, that helped us scale, and one day, I was having a conversation with Mike, and I had a talk that I used to do called The Secret Sauce of Atlassian, where I shared our internal story. And Mike said to me one day, why don't you just call it Sauce? I think it's why he gets paid the big bucks. And so 2 years ago, we shared our practices. Now, this isn't a marketing ploy or an attempt to try and sell you some thought leadership. This is us actually shipping our org chart and our org practices to you, because we want you to unleash your potential. In all the transformations, whether they be agile, digital, culture transformations I've seen on the road in the last 2 years, the number one barrier for most organizations is changing the behavior of their people. And so we shared this with you. Now, I could talk honestly for hours about this. And if you ever get me a wine or a beer and ask me the question, I will literally take hours to answer it. But we haven't got hours right now. Now, instead of me telling you all the stories of everything I've learned along the way, the advice I got given once was, in TV, never work with children or animals. And in tech, never do a live demo. But fuck it, I dressed up as Elvis, so we might as well do a live demo, right? So I'd like you to join me in welcoming our guests on stage from K15T, and we are going to do a live health monitor with you right now. Please welcome Sven, Shannon, and Dash. My poor, unsuspecting culprits. Now, when we do a health monitor at Atlassian, very simple exercise. It's a mirror that we put in front of our teams so they can assess how they work together. Sometimes it feels quite confronting, but essentially you learn things from your colleagues about what it's like to work human to human, the things that you might have that make you successful, or the things that you might be missing. And when we do this at Atlassian, we do it low tech. We do it with thumbs. Can you just show your thumbs to the audience? Everyone can see those at the back, right? No. Lauren, have we got any bigger thumbs? Awesome. Thank you, Lauren. Right. Here's the big thumbs. So what we're going to do is literally a live demo here. We're going to do a live demo of the project team health monitor. Now, we're not going to go through all 8 areas. That would be unfair and depressing on the folks from K15T. So we're going to pick 3 areas of the health monitor. Now, to make this a real demo, I have no idea what answers they're going to give. I'm not a magician. There's no sleight of hand. I genuinely don't know what they're going to do right here. So we're going to go through, and the first area we're going to go through is balanced team. So balanced team, when we talk about that, is roles and responsibilities are clear, and the project has the right mix of people. Now, Sven, could you just tell us what project are you working on as a team?
We're currently developing a new Confluence app.
Awesome.
As a cross-functional team.
Brilliant. Okay, so a cross-functional team developing a Confluence app. Now, what I need the audience to do is a 3, 2, 1 countdown, and then these folks are going to vote with their thumbs. Now, thumb up means they're awesome at this. Some thumb sideways, so not great, not awful. Thumb down, we might need a conversation. All right, so can you do 3, 2, 1 for me? Go. 3, 2, 1, vote. Oh, Dash, bit of an outlier there, mate. Would you mind sharing with 5,000 people why you're not convinced about them being a balanced team?
I'm having second thoughts. No, but I guess we started off really well, but then our high school art degree is going to take us so far. We started moving really fast, and we did a bunch of user testing, and we found out there's a bunch of user experiences challenges. And I guess it's high time that we get someone on board full time, and somebody has been helping us out. But I think it's time that we get
awesome.
On board, yeah.
So what we often find when we do balanced team is teams will have either assumed roles or roles that worked at the start of the project that as they course corrected and learnt more, they didn't add in those new roles or new skills. What we'd normally do there is the roles and responsibilities play. Awesome. So the next area we're going to go through is shared understanding, one of my favorite areas. The team has a common understanding of why, very important word there, why they are here, and they trust each other. Confidence and trust each other. So, audience again, can you give me a 3, 2, 1, go. 3, 2, 1, and vote. Oh, Sven, really? Wow. Yeah. Okay, go on. Sven, tell us why you thumb down.
So we're working on our onboarding experience from sprint to sprint, and I think we should just pick the features that are in our backlog. There's so many great features that we can build for the users, but we keep on working on the UI and UX and experience and then the onboarding experience.
Awesome. So Sven has hit the nail on the head as to why we named this shared understanding and not just understanding. So what we find is individuals have an understanding of why they're doing what they're doing, but do they understand the collective goal of the team? What we found in Atlassian when we first rolled this out, this was the #1 area our team struggled with. They knew what they were doing, but over time it was easy to forget why. We use a simple play called the project poster to work on that. Awesome, thank you. So the last one we're going to go through, again, one of my favorites because it's key to agility velocity. The team is making incremental progress, ideally shipping to production, I'm sure you are, and this is the important part. They are learning along the way and applying those lessons learned. So you know the rituals, are you going to give us a 3, 2, 1? 3, 2, 1, vote. Oh, bit of uncertainty there. Shannon, I'm going to pick on you. Go on, hit us. What's challenge with the velocity?
Yeah, I think we do a really good job of shipping incrementally. We push our releases out pretty quick, but we find out in our retrospectives that the same problems come up over and over again. We don't leave enough time for testing. We have bugs that we have to fix overnight, that kind of thing. Awesome. We could improve.
So the good news is you are not alone. The number of teams I've got to speak to who are proud of the fact that every time they do a retro, they find the same things, which is awesome for consistency and terrible for any kind of improvement. It's a new part of a new regime called the Agile Compliance Regime, which is alive and strong in many enterprises around the world. Can you please give a massive round of applause for the team from K15T? So all the material is available for you. We have a booth on the show floor. Mary, Bernie, Sarah, and Christine from the team are on there. If you've got any questions, go and ask them. But I've got a challenge for you. Our playbook has existed externally for 2 years. And I hear lots of stories from companies all over the world about using the health monitors and also using over 40 plays. Scott and Mike both mentioned a number of plays that we've used recently for IT teams. But here's the challenge. Get your phones out right now. Take a selfie with the person next to you. Get your phone out. It's the last thing you're going to have to do today. Take a selfie with the person next to you. Now, this is the person you are now accountable to. Now you've got a picture of them. This is the best way to bribe. I mean, hold each other accountable. So here's what I want you to do. Don't suffer with knowledge obesity. Don't just know that practices, health monitors, and plays exist. I want you next week when you return to your team to take a pledge. That instead of just hearing about unleashing the potential in teams, you're going to be a role model and you're going to take the action to actually unleash your team's potential. It's there for you for free, it costs nothing to try, and there's templates in Confluence if you're a Confluence user. So go to the AtlassianTeamPlaybook.com website, give it a try with your team, and let us know how it goes. We're constantly evolving and improving. Thank you very much, and please make sure you unleash your team's potential through action and not just words. Please join me in welcoming Mike, Scott, and Jay back to the stage.
Man, hey guys. Clicker, do you have a clicker? No, no clicker, all right, somebody can click for me. I obviously, oh, there it is, thank you. Thank you very much. I obviously drew the short straw here. So we wanted to do a fun Q&A. I want to start by just thanking Megha and Dom for the great overview of open and practices. As I mentioned, Atlassian was really founded on the concept of openness. And frankly, it's what's kept us sane and aligned, and it really began with the two guys I'm going to bring up on stage, Mike and Scott. Internally at Atlassian, we were used to hearing what amounts to kind of a real-time stream of consciousness from the founders via Confluence. And like a lot of people at Atlassian, they share their thoughts on everything from product to how we operate to what's happening in the wider world. So that'd be interesting to bring them up and for you to experience some of that firsthand. But we wanted to do a little bit Vegas style. So fair warning, unlike the Oscars, we don't have a 7-second delay on their responses. We also wanted to give the Q&A a little bit of razzle-dazzle. So I wanted to introduce you and Mike and Scott to the wheel of truth. So before I go through the categories, one of our other values is play as a team, and these guys are true players because they did not know before this morning that they were going to get donned in Elvis attire. And so give them a huge round of applause for being good sports, playing as a team. Mike and Scott.
Trigger if you need one.
So I wanted to go really quickly through the categories that we're going to use to guide the Q&A. First is behind the music. So a little bit of the backstory of the company and where we've come from and some of the behind-the-scenes stories about Atlassian and about your partnership. Second question, or second category, is softball questions. Basically, we're just not even going to pretend that these questions are difficult. Third category, how open are you? Where we, in the nicest way possible, try to explore the inside of the minds of our beloved Atlassian co-founders. Fourth category, in a word, goes without explanation.
Just one.
Single word answers. Fifth category, Throwback Thursday, where we're going to find out what young Mike and Scott were really like. And the last but not least, this is the 10th anniversary of Summit. This is Summit at 10. So we started this 10 years ago in a little small room at the Palace Hotel in San Francisco. It's grown to over 5,000 people here in Las Vegas. And so we're going to show some images from Summit paths and see if Mike and Scott have good recall on all the summits over the past 10 years. So with that, we're going to start with the first category. Behind the music. And actually, before I do behind the music, since you guys are Elvis in Elvis costumes, I wanted to maybe test your Elvis impression first before we do a category. So there's a little bit of I'll give you an example. So the simple one would just be, But here's, I'll get a prop. Like, let me give you an example. So I'm going to do it first, and then you guys each have to do it. All right. Look at that banana. That banana's huge. That's a mighty big banana. All right. That wasn't not bad. Not bad.
That was pretty good.
Look at that banana. That banana's huge. That's a mighty big banana.
Of course, you've been practicing for months. And we found out about this morning, okay? So something like, "G'day, banana." Hey. Well, look at this banana. That banana's huge.
That's a mighty big banana.
That's a mighty big banana.
Nice job. All right, Mike. All right, Mike. The best Elvis.
There's moments in life where you're like, why am I talking to a banana in front of 5,000 people in an Elvis costume? Look at that banana. That banana is huge. That's a mighty big banana.
All right, nice.
What do I do with the banana?
That's good. You can eat the banana now.
You can eat the banana. All right. Give it for a snack.
Mike obviously had more whiskey than Scott. That was a little bit more Elvis gravel. So behind the music, first question, was there an aha moment in the early days or the later days of Atlassian, when you realized, man, this thing could actually bloody work. This is a great thing, and maybe talk a little bit more why that moment is right now.
And just so I'm aware, you want serious answers? Because it's quite hard to have any serious. Give a serious answer.
Yeah. What was the aha moment for you first, Scott, when you were like, yeah, this could be something with Atlassian?
I feel like we're always got so much more ahead of us. Let me think. I mean, our first customer, when we got, the first dozen customers, you go to some other conference and they're friends and family and fools, and you convince them into buying a copy of Jira back then. And you sort of know people when you hustle. And then one day a fax came in from American Airlines, I think it was, and it had a credit card number and signed. And I went to Mike and said, hey, did you hassle American Airlines? And he said, no, I thought you might have hassled American Airlines. I'm like, yes, money's falling from the fax machine. This is fantastic.
Funny that we had a fax machine back then, by the way. Haven't got a lot of faxes recently.
And so I think back then, that's when we knew we could sell around the world, like sell globally without having to talk and touch to every single customer. We could put stuff on a website, create great products, and people would buy them.
Mike, how about you? First aha moment.
I was going to say American Airlines, so it took away my best story. I think as Confluence started to take off a little bit, there was a realization that it would be very different to make software, but that we could do it in a sort of more generic way. I think when you make a single product, you're always wondering, are you good at... Maybe it's like if you're Elvis, you make one song, you're like, okay, did I just get lucky with that one song? And you make a second song, you're like, oh, maybe I can write music and sing music, and then he had a whole set of albums. So I think somewhere in the Confluence early days when people started to buy Confluence and it was a wholly new thing, that was a convincing sign that we could keep this thing going.
Yeah. Let's move on to a different category. Spin the wheel. Softball questions. All right. So these should be easy for you. As maybe some of the audience knows, or most of the audience knows, Australians have some colorful English, some colorful language. So I wanted to test how well you knew some Australian slang. So this is a question I'm going to lob them out, and at the same time, I want synchronous answers from both of you to see how well you know your Australian slang. Are you ready?
And does everyone know, is it rhyming slang?
You'll have to find out.
All right.
All right, ready? So these are Australian phrases, and you have to translate what they mean at the same time. So the first one is, hit the frog and toad.
Road.
Hit the road.
Is it one-word answers?
No, not one-word answers.
No one-word answers, sorry.
That's a different category.
Different category. I'm catching up on the system here.
Nice bag of fruit.
Nice suit.
Yeah, nice suit. Nice suits.
Nice suit.
Nice suit.
It's lovely blue polyester.
It's quite hot. Yeah.
Pass the dead horse.
Pass the sauce.
That's the sauce. All right, man, you guys are good. All right. Get off the dog and bone.
Get off the phone.
Nice.
Get off the phone is right. It's bloody young and old.
That's bloody cold. It's freezing.
Yeah, it's effing cold.
Yeah, it's
cold. Freaking cold.
I'm from Steak and Kidney.
We're from Sydney.
I'm from Sydney. All right, good. Where are the tin lids?
Where are the kids?
I've never called them tin lids before. Where are the kids?
Where are the kids? Wow, I hope this one's wow, that's a Barry Crocker.
That's a shocker.
That's a shocker.
That's a
Had
shocker.
a shocker.
Right.
This is a shocker. We're having a Barry Crocker right now.
Don't tell me don't tell me another porky pie.
Don't tell me a lie.
Don't tell me a lie.
Let's go out for some Britney Spears.
Let's go out for some beers.
Grab some beers.
Grab some beers. All right. Yeah, well done. All right, you guys nailed all of those. Next category.
There's like 25 million people in Australia, by the way, who are confused as to why you just applauded all of that.
All right, Throwback Thursday. Start with you, Scott. Describe yourself as a 10-year-old. What were you like at 10?
Dorky kid. Let's see. I don't know. I definitely wasn't like that DJ on before. She was rocking it. I a dorky kid, went to local primary school. Liked playing some sport and going outdoors. That's what I was doing at age 10. I think I might have got my first computer around then, but that's, yeah, I was just any old normal kid.
Yeah, and in Sydney, grew up in Sydney.
Grew up in Sydney, Western Sydney, yeah, sort of in a small, well, it wasn't a small town, I guess, but it was a regional suburb that it took about an hour and a half to get to the city back then.
All right, slightly different question for you, Mike. How would your best mate in junior school describe you?
Got my best mate in junior school?
Or like elementary school. I don't know what it's called in Australia.
Strangely enough, sporty probably. I played a lot more sport when I was younger. It sort of disappeared as I got older. Yeah, probably nerdy and sporty. It's a weird combination. I used to play a lot of rugby. I went to school in England at that time, 10 years old. So rugby,
in England?
Rugby was mandatory, cricket was mandatory. And I really enjoyed playing rugby.
All right, are you still a fan of the English rugby?
Was kicking a ball around.
Still a fan of the English rugby?
Not much of a fan of the English rugby, no.
All right, next category, moving on. What do we got? How open are you? Okay, this is the question for both of you about the other founder. Describe one quirk about Mike. What's one quirk about Mike?
Mike will take his shoes off at the start of the day and put them in whatever meeting room was the first meeting room he was in the day. And then at the end of the day, he'll wander back through all the meeting rooms he was in trying to find his shoes.
Truth.
Totally valid. Totally true. Totally true.
And in reverse, Mike, you get a...
One quirk. Scott always sleeps with his mouth open. Spent plenty of time in the plane, and it's always like this. And I've always been tempted to be like, if I
drop some
water, just pour it in, what would happen there? But I've never done that.
All right, next category. Spin the wheel. All right, Summit of 10. All right, let's see a picture. This first one's for Scott. So Scott, what year was this picture taken? What Summit year? And how many attendees were at Summit that year?
So I guess that was either 2010 or 2009, one of our first two summits. That is Mike about to go on stage for the keynote. Now, we didn't have a backstage back then, so I think he's actually crouched in this corner of the audience somewhere, trying to hide. And my guess is probably about 350 or 400 people there.
Yeah, that's right. You nailed it. Well done. All right.
It actually looks the same today. It's just we have a backstage area now.
Yeah, nobody can see him squatting right before.
Same shoes.
Spin the wheel. Behind the music. Okay. So this is a question about our customers. And it's a question to both of you, but I'll start with you, Mike. Who was customer number 1,334? When did they become a customer, and where are they from?
I'm going to guess there's some significance to 1,334. You haven't just picked a random number.
Oh, that's random.
Who was it? Where are they from? And
who was it? When did they become a customer? What year? And where are they from?
Let me see. 1,334. I think they probably would have been a customer in year two-ish, end of year two, so like 2003, maybe early 2004. Who was it?
I'm going to start whistling the Jeopardy theme song here.
I'm going to go with
5.
The U.S. government.
Wrong. No. Scott, over to you. Do you have a guess?
1335?
1334.
Oh, okay.
He knew the other one.
So my guess is probably more like 2007. I think we had a run of international ones then, so it's maybe you want to say South Africa.
That's right. 2007's right. South Africa's right.
And that is funny. MTM Group.
That's right. Well done.
Why do I feel like he's been giving the answers in advance?
Spin the wheel. Spin the wheel. All right. In a word, what scares you? Scott, first you.
Failure.
Failure. Mike?
Climate change.
That's 2 words.
I said it really quickly. There was no space.
Let's do one more on In a Word. We heard Scott yesterday talk about Ed Sheeran and 10 million Ed Sheeran streams on Spotify. So, in a word, what's your favorite Ed Sheeran song?
I could not name a single Ed Sheeran song, I'm afraid. I probably could sing half of them, but I wouldn't be able to tell you any of the names.
How about this? What's your favorite song?
Oh, it's going to be hard. Probably something from Pink Floyd, because I had a misspent youth.
All right. Crowd favorite. Crowd favorite. Mike, more time to think on this one.
It would probably be maybe Thunder by AC/DC.
Oh, nice. Another good one. All right. Spin the wheel. Softball questions. Mike, we'll start with you. Favorite current television show?
I've just finished watching Succession, which was fascinating, really interesting.
Don't know that one. What's it about?
Succession on HBO. It is not about
Right. It's the family dynasty.
media family.
Yeah, all right.
It's a fictitious media owner.
Scott, favorite current television show?
I got hooked into Homeland a long time ago and can't stop watching it now.
Yeah, good one.
It's a good show.
Favorite, all-time favorite movie?
Top Gun.
Ooh, that's not where I thought you'd go.
Shawshank, I still probably have watched more than
Shawshank
the other
Redemption,
time.
all right.
Where did you think I was going? What was I'm interested in the expected answer.
Spin the wheel. Throwback Thursday. What was the luckiest break you got, Scott?
Hooking up with this guy is the luckiest break I had.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Mike, top that.
See, now I'm feeling bad. I was going to say meeting my wife in the airport, but now I feel like now I feel like that was second. Yeah. Meeting Scott was second to meeting my wife in the airport.
Hi, Kim.
It's not live stream.
You were my second as well.
Spin the wheel. Here we go. Softball question. All right. Start with you, Mike. What is an unpopular opinion that you have? For example, I like Nickelback.
You do? How it's unpopular. I'm well known as liking romantic comedies as a movie genre. But
rom-coms?
Pretty popular. Yeah.
Yeah. Been known to cry on planes?
Oh yeah, crying a lot of planes. Yeah. Yes.
Scott, unpopular opinion you have?
Unpopular. Ooh. I'm probably most unpopular because I give us candid feedback to people, perhaps at the wrong time sometimes. So that's probably unpopular opinion. I want to give people feedback when as soon as I think about it, rather than maybe when they want to hear it.
Like maybe right now.
Any feedback for Jay? How's he doing?
Well, there'll be some feedback backstage. Shortly after this session.
Spin the wheel. Spin the wheel. Summit at 10. All right. This one for you, Mike.
All right. Oh, nice.
Which summit year and what was happening here?
3 or 4 years ago, so 15, 16.
2015 is right. Nice.
We are attempting to act like we could DJ. Yes, as robot DJs.
Daft Punk.
Unnamed robot DJs.
Yeah.
Coolest thing about that photo, by the way, is did anyone go to Bash that year? Yeah, we had various different employees wearing the outfit and wandering around, and they had like 1,000 photos taken. It was hilarious.
All right, spin the wheel. In a word, start with you, Scott. If you could lay claim to any invention in history, what would it be in a word?
Beyond JQL?
Ooh, yeah, good one.
Oh, okay, beyond history.
That's a very popular answer I hear, like, globally.
Yeah,
JQL.
it's top 10 actually on the list, right?
That's
it's,
right.
fire, wheel,
Steam engine,
JQL,
wheel,
in there.
JQL.
Any invention in history, I reckon probably the microwave.
Microwave, nice.
Yep. Couldn't live without a microwave.
Popcorn.
Mike?
For kids, don't you?
I'd probably say the airplane.
Airplane.
That was a pretty big transformational thing, if you think about it. We kind of could get long distances.
Yeah, and then maybe the electric airplane.
They have those. Not very good yet. We'll get there.
Spin the wheel. New category. Behind the music. What is your, maybe talk a little bit about kind of going public, but what's your favorite memory from the experience around going public 3 years ago?
Well, we had an interesting IPO roadshow. We were the only company to ever do the roadshow from west to east. So we actually, everyone else gets an extra hour every day when they do the roadshow. We lost an hour every day because of some of the timings that came out. But my funniest memory was that there was certain bankers that take you public, but one of the competing banks that wasn't taking us public was having a conference right in the middle of our roadshow. And so all the investors we wanted to talk to were already at that conference. And so we flew into Tucson, Arizona, and we had meetings with investors in the back of an RV in the car park lot of a competing rival investment bank's conference. And so there were golf carts ferrying investors to our RV, and we would then split, because you could have the sort of sleeping section at the back, and there was a seating section at the front, and we'd have two different little investor sessions, and then people would file off the RV and back around. So that was pretty surreal. The bankers have never done an IPO roadshow in an RV before, like ever. So that was a first.
Mike, your favorite memory from?
I think going outside afterwards and taking all the photos. That was pretty cool. There's some cool photos
in
of us,
Times
but
Square?
and they put not only photos of us, but we took all of the employees who'd been with us for a long, long period of time at that time, and all of them had their photos up giant, so it's pretty good to see a bunch of guys and girls who'd been on the journey for a long time suddenly turn around and be like, oh my God, that's me. As, I don't know, 200 foot tall on Times Square, and they each got photos with their giant images. Was pretty nice.
That was pretty awesome.
They thought it was pretty special.
Spin the wheel. Back to open. A few more. Around how open you are, what's your guilty indulgence, Mike? Your guilty indulgence.
I don't know. You should probably ask my wife that one. She'd probably have a better idea.
Come on, man. That's an easy one.
Chocolate?
Coffee.
Coffee? Is that guilty? Oh, shit. Oh, yeah. Then. Definitely coffee then. Sorry. Yeah, if that's... Yeah.
Scott,
a lot.
Guilty indulgence.
Time for me, like wasting time. I feel like your life gets so scripted, and time gets organized into small chunks. So like just having a couple of hours to do nothing, waste it, do frivolous things. That's my guilty indulgence.
All right, spin the wheel. A couple more. In a word, Scott, are you probable or possible?
Ooh, probable.
Probable. Mike, are you probable or possible?
Possible.
Possible. Mike, is Scott probable or possible? Just kidding. Just kidding. I'll spin the wheel. Throwback Thursday. All right. If Mike, start with you. If you hadn't founded Atlassian, what do you think you'd be doing right now?
If I hadn't founded Atlassian, what would I be doing right now? I would probably be writing code somewhere, I think, is my guess.
Using Jira?
It's like a Back to the Future confusing thing. Yeah. If I go back and erase my parents from the dance, do I actually exist? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Scott?
Probably traveling the world somewhere, just going out and seeing where there's a big world out there. So traveling around itinerantly, wasting time.
Yeah. And stick with you for a second. Beyond your family and friendships in Atlassian, what is the thing that you're most interested in? It sort of consumes your spare capacity.
I spend a lot of time thinking about the interaction between technology and us as humans, so biology, healthcare, all that stuff. If you look at how complicated we are as machines, it's an incredibly complicated machine, and at some stage we're going to meld technology and biology together. So I've invested in some startups to do everything from melanoma detection using AI and automatically looking at camera phones and determining whether you have cancer or not. I've also invested in a startup that does 3D printing of cells for testing things. And so if you look at the way we do a lot of medicines and things these days, it's still very manual. You do human trial, you do these trials, and you get to human trials, you might test it on 500 people or 5,000 people. I do think what happens, we get to a gigafactory style size of 3D printing of organs and DNA testing and stem cells and so forth. Then we'll be able to test drugs against 10,000 people, 100,000 people, like samples, and so we'll be able to do much more drug testing, much better biology interactions, and I think that's going to change the way that we live and human longevity, things like that.
Yeah, awesome. Mike, same. Passionate interest outside of Atlassian and family?
I guess at the moment it'd probably be, climate change, renewable energy, and going through removing the largest sources of carbon emissions in sequence. So that sort of encompasses autonomous driving. I spend a lot of time on the board of a big investor in an autonomous driving company. It's doing very well. The way they would phrase it is, if you look at just in America alone, it's about a 747 full of people that get killed on the roads every year, every week, right? And if we had a 747 going down every week, we would ground them all. You know what I mean? We wouldn't allow that to happen, but we think that's fine on roads. And we do have the technology to do that. It will take a lot of cars off the road, and they'll be electric, so it will all help things.
Yeah, awesome. Two more. Spin the wheel. Softball question. All right, quickly from each of you. Scott, start with you. Favorite story that you've picked up from customers so far at Summit?
Oh, it's a hard one. There's so many ones. I did on a scale side. I heard a company yesterday that said they've got Jira running with 7 million issues in one instance and 45,000 employees that use it on a regular basis, and they're looking to roll out Confluence to 140,000 employees. And so, from a size and scale perspective, that's really large. To think that there's 45,000 people out there just in one company using Jira every week is pretty impressive.
Yeah, awesome. Mike, to you.
Probably let me think, the beautiful lady for, I think it was Charter Communications. She here came up and just gave me a big hug, and it was really nice. And then I said, sort of what's going on, and she just wanted to tell me how, I think mind-blowing, something like that was the phrase she used, our enterprise transformation had been over the last 3 years. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago they were here very upset about the way we dealt with very large customers, and just literally wanted to say it's amazing to see the transformation the company's gone through, and just share kind of the positivity of that, which was really, really nice. So yeah, it was just, we hear a lot of, we should do this, we should do that, we should do this, we try to take that home. It's really nice to get 2 or 3 years ago I came and gave you this feedback, and now it's changed as a company, and that made me feel we'd achieved something there.
Last category. Summit at 10. All right, I think this one is for you, Mike. Last question. What summit was this, and what did Scott announce in this moment?
Ooh, I remember when we had the football theme, kind of the coaching thing going on. 2014, and Scott was announcing Jira 6.
So close. 2012, the marketplace and the ecosystem.
Not even close.
So huge round of applause
nice.
for Mike and Scott. Thank you guys for being good sports. I think that's it for us. Thanks to for everyone for coming today and enjoying the circus. It is the final day of Summit. We have a lot going on today. Quick reminder that Ship It Live happens today. Back here at 5 p.m., you can watch teams race against the clock to build their projects. Vote for your favorite. So see everybody outside.
It's also Pat.